back to IGN Live here at Gamescom 2018. I'm Sydney, and I'm joined by Damien, and we're here to talk For Honor.
Yes.
So there's a new DLC coming out. Do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, so we are doing our biggest update we've ever done on For Honor. It's called Marching Fire. It's released 16 October and comes with 4 new heroes of a brand new faction, the Wulin faction, Breach mode or a new PvP multiplayer game mode. And what we're revealing here at Gamescom is the brand new PvE experience, the arcade mode.
Okay, so I'm really excited to hear more about that because you guys teased that at E3, but we'll get back to that. We'll save that for a little bit. So you mentioned the Wulin clan or the Wulin faction.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about that?
So when we released For Honor, we wanted to at one point to come up with a new faction in the world of For Honor, and we're looking at different countries, different type of martial arts, etc. And China really was the obvious choice for us. They have so much depth in different martial arts, different type of weapons, etc. So we really said, okay, we need to have a Chinese faction in For Honor. And those are the Wulin. So here right now, for example, we're seeing one of the heroes, the Jiang Jun. It's one of the hero that is coming with the Wulin faction. He's a hybrid hero. He's a very good hero against group fights. So it's also something we're trying to play with in For Honor, is to introduce heroes with different type of play styles.
I was just going to ask about that.
Exactly. And so he's a good example of that.
What are the 4 types of heroes in this faction?
So we have Jiang Jun, the one we just saw. We have also the Nuxia, who is the assassin of the cast. And we saw at E3 the Qiandi, the Vanguard, and the Shaolin.
Where do you start in terms of researching, to create these heroes?
Create a hero, we always start with the weapon.
Okay,
so we look at different type of weaponry they have. We say, okay, this weapon is very interesting. For example, this one is a very famous weapon in China from this hero. His hero is based, in fact, on a real hero.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, Guan Yu. He's a very famous hero in China that fought at the end of the Han dynasty. And he made this weapon very popular as well. But for example, we have the Nuxia. She's an assassin and she has hook swords. And so we thought those weapons would be very interesting, and we even made a new gameplay mechanic out of that. So she can grab the enemy weapons with her hooks. So that's also a new type of play.
Yeah, so this DLC really is adding a lot of new stuff to the base game.
The biggest thing we've ever done. You know, a new faction, 4 heroes, Breach mode. Breach mode is a brand new PvP game mode. We spent a lot of time on it. We wanted to have a game mode that lasted longer. Now Dominion match are around 10 minutes. Breach could be between 20 and 30 minutes.
Okay, that's a lot longer.
Yeah, and where you strategize way more. It's
so
based on the castle siege fantasy. So one team is trying to breach through 2 gates and kill the commander of the other team that is trying to prevent that. So it's also our first asymmetrical game modes.
Okay, so is the commander, is that a super-powered player, or is that AI?
It's a super-powered AI, I would say.
Okay, got it. I wasn't sure if maybe somebody spawned in as the commander.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess most of the game would probably be pretty boring, though, because you'd just be waiting for the other team.
Exactly.
So we talked about Breach mode, we talked about the new faction. Let's talk about the arcade mode. So it's unlimited PvE, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So we wanted to introduce a new PvE experience into the game. The story mode was very popular. We also did in the past some events that were only PvE, like Test Your Metal events. And we wanted to come with a brand new mode based on that, where you could play with the same heroes as the one you play in multiplayer with the same progression, where you get the same type of rewards. So it just adds a new way to play For Honor, and something you can play alone or with a friend.
So this is the mode that we're watching right now,
exactly.
Correct?
With the Nuxia, so the assassin with the hook swords. And here, as you can see, the enemy was on fire. And one of the big things with this new mode is that we apply a lot of different modifiers on yourself and on your enemies that could make you stronger or weaker, and that forces you to play differently. basically. So each battle is a bit like a new puzzle where you need to find a good way to solve it.
So are you just killing hordes coming at you, or is there kind of like an end goal of this?
So depending on which difficulty you choose, you have a different amount of battles. So here, I don't know in which difficulty we are, but you start at 4 battles in the common difficulty, and you can go up to 6 battles in the legendary difficulty. The map is chosen randomly, the location is chosen randomly, the enemies are chosen randomly, the modifiers too, and you have a lot of different parameters that makes each play very different, while always having a very strong challenge. That's one of sort of the core idea behind that game mode.
So you have the 6 battles.
Yeah.
Maybe you get 6. And is there a boss battle at the end of that, or
it
you
depends.
just win all those battles?
Some of them have bosses, so we reuse also some of the character of the story campaign. So some of the bosses there that you can play against. So it depends. The last stage is always the hardest one. But sometimes it could be 3 different heroes, or it could be 1 boss, or it could be. That's the idea. The idea is to have as many configuration as we can.
Yeah.
So that each time you play it is different, so that you can have fun, a different challenge, and at the same time progress your hero, get your loot, get your XP, get your steel, and everything you would get in a normal PvP game. And on top of that, we have some exclusive cosmetic rewards that are only obtainable through our arcade mode.
And then you can show it off in PvP.
Exactly.
So you mentioned progression.
Yeah.
Is the progression, does that stay with you every time you play in the PvE mode, or does it reset?
Yeah, it stays with you. In fact, you select the different difficulty you want to go. You can select the hardest one from the beginning, but really what matters is what gear you're wearing.
Gotcha.
So if you go in a legendary activity, you should wear legendary gear. If you don't, it will be very, very hard, meaning that 1 hit kills you.
Yeah.
So some people, I think, will succeed at doing it, but that's very hard.
Well, and it goes back to what you're saying about giving yourself, like, every playthrough will be different,
Exactly.
and maybe some people want to play at that intensive a handicap.
Yeah, and we have very, very strong players, so I think some people would be able to do that.
Yeah, a
sure.
great way to challenge your game.
Yeah.
Or challenge your gameplay.
Exactly.
So with this game mode, there's an opportunity to kind of up your game and get better at different heroes, correct?
Exactly. We have different ways to get better in the game. So we have the training section where you can play in an arena, where you can select the bot you're playing against. You can select their moves, so you can really practice if you want. But what is great with arcade mode is that it puts you in kind of challenging contextual phases where it makes you use different type of strategies. And so in the end, yes, you get really better by playing your hero because you're in a very exotic situations. And so then you would be better at playing PvP if you played some arcade mode as well. But you're playing with modifiers and things you wouldn't see in PvP, but it's still, those handicaps are really helpful to make you learn how to play your hero and how to play better your hero.
Yeah. So I know in some games, there's a PvE mode and the AI just never seemed to be quite at the level of players that you're playing in PvP.
Yeah.
Would you say that the difficulty level in this matches how skilled some of your top tier players are?
I think it's a different type of challenge.
Okay.
We have pretty strong bots already in our game, even in PvP. So it's bots level 3. They're pretty hard to beat. They parry you, they feint you, they really use the same tools as a normal human. And for us, it's challenging to beat them. And so when you play in legendary difficulty, you play against level 3 bots. But on top they have modifiers. So like each time they hit you, you get fire damage, or they throw you very far. So it makes them even stronger. So I would say you can have, even if it's a different type of challenge, you can have very, very challenging phase.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, that sounds great. You mentioned the training mode. So the PC Starter Edition was free to play for a week in June, which makes me think that it's not too late for players to jump into this game now.
Yeah.
And the training mode is such a great thing for new players. Is there anything else that you would recommend to people that are maybe a little shy to get into the game because they feel like they didn't start when it first came out?
Right now is the best time to come for many reasons. We're gold on Xbox right now, so your games with gold, it means that a lot of players are coming in at the same time than you. We're having a big sales on PS4 at the moment. We're doing a giveaway operation like we did on Uplay at E3. We're doing it this time on Steam. It starts tomorrow. So again, a lot of new players will come at the same time than you. So then it means that PvP will be easier. But even though you have the training, you have the arena mode, you have the tutorial, story mode is also a great way to learn the game. And you can play all game modes are available against bots. So it's also a way if you're too shy or if you're not sure, and you can play against bots while being match made. So it means that you can play with people you don't know and learn how to play with them against bots. It's also a way. And you can play with your friends, of course.
That's so great how many tools there are to make the game so accessible to new players, because I do feel like sometimes, you know, a game comes out and you're interested, but maybe you're really busy or something came up and you just didn't end up playing the game and you kind of feel like it's too late. Yeah. So that's so great to hear.
And that's why one of the focus of this year was also to improve a lot the training mode, to introduce new ways to play the game, new way to practice and to learn the game, because it's one of the challenge on a PvP game is to be always welcoming whatever the time you come to the game.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so happy to hear that there's a new entry point for Honor.
Great.
Stick around because we have more Gamescom 2018 coming at you after this.